Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter. Thank you for tuning into our channel, Goldilocks Global Banking News. Everybody knows that Goldilocks is the #1 source for the RVGCR. People from around the world tune in to see what Goldilocks is sharing on the RVGCR. Don't miss your chance and get your latest updates every day. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel to get your daily podcast from the Goldilocks articles on the RVGCR. Brought to you by Freedom Fighter. Hey there. Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter. Welcome to Saturday Night Dialogues. It is May the 10th, 2025. Happy Mother's Day to all of you amazing mothers out there. We hope that God gives you all that you desire. Every day is Mother's Day. Let's jump into some prayer and get this party started. Father God, we thank you as always for your grace, your love, your mercy, your unconditional love that you have bestowed upon us, that you have brought us into this world with. We ask that you cover everyone. Father, we ask that we send a special prayer to our brother, Armor of the Father, who this past week or so had a medical issue. We ask that you continue to allow him to heal. We know that he is on the road to recovery. We ask that you continue to allow him to heal. And also, Father, we ask that you send healing virtues to Peculiar Ram's mother. We know that she is in the hospital. We ask that you send your angels to surround her with your healing mercies and your healing virtues as well, Father, and keep Peculiar Ram and her family strong and resilient as they go through this time of caring for her mother. And Father, we ask that you allow everyone here to be able to understand, comprehend, and receive the message that we will bring forth tonight, for it is necessary for them to be prepared for the blessing that you have bestowed upon them. In your precious name we pray. Amen. All right, folks, let's jump into it. Quick announcements. Of course, we have Goldilocks QFS Dialogues Room. Of course, the new hours are 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. We're closed on the weekends now. And with that being said, of course, we know that that's where everyone comes to get their education and learning on how to establish relationships with the actual bankers who will prepare you for the RV. That is where we break down Goldilocks articles for folks to understand the process of the RV. But in regards to the Goldilocks QFS Dialogues Room, be aware that there is a fake QFS Dialogues Room as well, whereby someone, they're probably listening to this call right now. It's not funny, but it's funny. They have created a fake Goldilocks QFS Dialogues Room, and there may be members that are in that room not realizing it's not the correct room. We will never, ever promote a so-called QFS account. We will never send you DMs. None of the admins will send you DMs claiming anything related to a QFS account. There is no such thing. So we wanted to make you aware, just to be careful. People are getting scammed by these vicious scammers. They're all over, of course, but there is a fake Goldilocks QFS Dialogues Room, so we wanted to make you aware of that, so be careful. Then we have D's room, where D drops a lot of articles related to the global financial system and, of course, the RV. Then we have the crypto finance room with Dave Big Dog. If you have questions related to crypto, that is the room. right there that you can go into and get your questions answered. Then we have Goldilocks Global Banking News, where is the YouTube channel. That's the daily podcast where you're able to receive, of course, in a podcast via audio, the daily updates from Goldilocks that we share on YouTube, whereby now it's reached over 1.3 million views and 48 countries around the world. And folks, it is because of you, many of you, sharing your stories, helping others, that have allowed the channel to reach throughout the world, because people are able to hear all over the world your stories, your bank stories, that you received the education and the training from the Goldilocks QFS Dialogues Room, where Wiley, myself, and the tribe are helping and teaching you all to do so. Now, that being said, what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to drop into the room. This makes me think of this. I'm going to drop into the room just so you're aware of the reach of the Goldilocks QFS Dialogues Room. I'm posting it into the room right now. I'm going to read this to you, and then we're going to jump into the rest of this call. We have a jam-packed call. We have two amazing members that are going to share their recent bank stories, bank updates, and then we're going to get into Vietnam. That's passing laws that will allow the dong to be able to go international. Then we're going to also go into all the currencies will be affected by this recent UK-US trade deal, and then XRP stablecoins. So let's look at this. I just posted the room for those that are listening via YouTube. This is the reach, and this is very important. And this is going to get to a message that I think will touch on something that Wiley posted into the room the other day. This is it, 1.3 million views, 48 countries. These are the countries. Of course, the United States, to Canada, Japan, Australia, United Kingdom, Germany, South Africa, the Philippines, Colombia, Vietnam, New Zealand, Netherlands, Mexico, Thailand, Malaysia, Spain, Switzerland, Ecuador, France, Puerto Rico, Australia, Brazil, Sweden, South Korea, Singapore, Indonesia, Costa Rica, Venezuela, Argentina, Peru, Panama, Lesotho, that's a South African country, Greece, India, Paraguay, Namibia, Bermuda, Denmark, Croatia, United Arab Emirates, Belize, Dominican Republic, Iraq, Jamaica, Belgium, Czechia, Taiwan, Norway. These are 48 countries where there are subscribers. And folks, we are very, very grateful for those of you who consistently come forward and share your amazing bank stories, your updates, like the folks you're going to hear from tonight. You're all here daily in the room. And then, of course, on Saturday night, where members are sharing their updates, their bank stories. Folks, this is very important. This gets to something that Wiley posted into the room a few days ago in regards to reaching back. What we would love for you all to do. See, we don't ask for donations. We don't do selling of any sort type of products, nothing. We don't ask for anything from you all but one thing, and that is to reach back and help someone. We have new members that come to the room. What we want to see is for you to consistently help them, reach out. For example, I'm just giving you an example, just in case, when new people come to the room, welcome them to the room. Ask them, how can we be of help? Now, trust me, many of you already do that, and you do that very well. We ask that you continue to do that. However, there are some people that have benefited tremendously from what they've gotten from the room, and they have forgotten about their fellow men. They have forgotten to reach back. The motto of each one teach one, I remember hearing when I was very young. Now, mind you, I remember, for example, in the old room, when I would watch Wiley in the room, and for those that don't know, if yeah, if it was, there would be no freedom fighter if it wasn't for Wiley. I saw Wiley reaching back and helping people in the old room, giving his knowledge and his wisdom. And then, I would make comments on Goldilocks articles. I would answer questions, in that room over there based on my financial background. I was being helpful. And then Wiley sent word for little freedom fighter to come on up and be of a help in the room. And so I began to reach back. And a lot of you may not realize, but what Wiley does, what freedom fighter does, She-Hulk, Goldilocks, based on our wisdom, our knowledge, and understanding of the finance world and what's going on with the RV, we give back to you daily. Many of you have success stories. You're structured at the banks because of it. All we ask is that you do the same thing, return the favor. A good example of reaching back and helping is when someone comes into the room. Show them that love, show them that kindness that you received. Show them that grace that you received. I know many of us are tired. We want to get on the other side of this, but it's best that we continue to show that love and grace to members. For example, and I think about it, and it's probably a bad analogy thinking now, I'm thinking about it with Peculiar Ram's mother. Right before the Peculiar Ram's going to read the articles, but right before the call, she sent me a message that her mother was rushed to the emergency room. But think of when you go to the emergency room, or if you go to a regular annual checkup, the doctors take your vitals. They check your heart, they check your blood, they take your temperature. You got to breathe. They want to hear how you're breathing. They check your vitals. No matter if it's an emergency or just a regular checkup, they're going to check your vitals because they want to see what is the core root of your issue. What's the core root of your problem? When people come into the room, I think of our room often as an emergency room. People come battered, bruised, beat up, shot, stabbed from the guru land. And some people, they just may come and prepare. But no matter what, when they come into the room, what do you see we do? Hey, welcome. How are you? How can we help you? Welcome to the room. Welcome home. Oh, where's the questions, freedom fighter? Where's the questions? I'm ready to meet a wealth manager. Do you have an account at a tier 1 bank? Yes. Does that bank exchange foreign currency presently? I don't know. I can call, find out. Oh, okay. Not a problem. I'll totally understand. You're not ready for the questions just yet. However, here are our steps. See, that is a way to check their temperature. That's the way to check their vitals. Get to the root cause of their issue, their problem. Everyone's problem is going to be different. But no matter what, if they're coming from guru foo-foo land, check their vitals. If they're just coming, hey, I'm just starting out and I want to begin to build a relationship, check their vitals. What are their vitals? Ask them where they are on the steps. No matter where they come into the room and say they're at, and just watch how we do it. If they say they're ready for the questions, we go right to number 1. You have an account at a tier 1 bank? If they say they're new, they're just getting started, do you have an account at a tier 1 bank? But what do we do as far as checking their vitals before that? Welcome to the room. Welcome home. How can we help you? We sort of gotten away from that in the last week or so. We have to get right back to it. reach out. And there are those, again, that do it consistently. And we so appreciate you. We ask that you continue to lead in that fashion. But there are many members that, and new people that are joining the room, and they have no idea that there are 8 steps. They have no idea that the questions is step 8. But when we check their vitals, we can find out what the root cause of the problem is. Then we can diagnose them. How we diagnose them? Walk them through the 8 steps. It's the ultimate solution to their problem. That's it. That's all we got to do. Wiley, if you're here, you want to chime in here, because it was thanks to you posting in the room this message the other day to get us back on point, on cue. Did you want to chime in here, Wiley?
You basically covered it. I just want to get back to our core mission, and I want to finish out strong. I know we're a little battered and bruised, and we're getting towards finality in this as we get towards the end. But I want to finish strong, like we started strong, and continue to welcome new people in. I know with growing pains, or with growth comes growing pains, and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we just need to keep going, so we finish out strong.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Thank you for posting that in the room the other day. Your leadership is truly commended. Like I told people all the time, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here, because you showed me the way in the old room back in was that 2023? Yeah, almost 2 years ago. So yeah, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
All right. And I think of like a welcome committee. So folks, if you're in the room, new people come in, feel free to welcome them. Just chime in. You don't even have to help them. Well, you know what? Welcoming them helps them. And so, and if like if you see me welcome them, that doesn't mean I have to be the one to walk them through. That doesn't mean I have to be the one to take their vitals.
I think a lot of what it is they're coming to our room and they have the anxieties. They're so far behind when they've heard the stories. And when they find us, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so far behind. I've listened to the Guru Soup. I'm lost. And these people seem to have it figured out. And that builds on them. And we need to make sure that we can calm that and get them in a good space and move forward with them in a productive manner.
Absolutely. 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 Thank you so much. All right, beautiful people. We have 2 amazing members you're going to hear from for the first time tonight. That's going to be, we're going to have Pistol's mom first, and then we're going to get to the lovely Lotus. Pistol's mom, if you can unmute, I thought I saw you. Or if you can raise your hand, then we can come to you and unmute. That's the way we may have to do it.
I think I'm there.
I think you are. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Doing very well. Happy Mother's Day, beautiful.
Thank you.
Yes. Don't you say Happy Mother's Day to me now.
So I got to tell you, I was at the horse show today, and I'm with a friend that makes jewelry. And there was a little like 6-year-old girl, and she wanted a present for her mom for Mother's Day.
Oh, okay.
And Toby sold a ring that was worth a lot more than $1, but the little girl had $1. And Toby gave her that ring for her mom. We were sitting there crying because it was just such a sweet thing to do, you know?
Yes.
So,
now, who is Toby? Who's Toby? Is that your?
Toby is my really, really good friend. It's like she's my adopted daughter.
Okay, gotcha. Okay,
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. That's so sweet. That love and that kindness, it's infectious.
Yes, it is.
And I love to hear stories like that. Awesome. That can go will go a long way. Just that act of kindness.
It will.
You've been posting. You've been busy. I mean, busy with these wealth managers. I mean, your name is Pistol's mom, but I bet you carry a pistol too, because you fast on the draw. You just, you've been posting and you have so many different connections and relationships with wealth managers that you establish. And funny story, y'all, funny story. You don't know. I asked Pistol's mom to be on the call. She's like, well, I'll wait till I get further down the line. I'm like, no. Because someone can learn from where you are right now. Because I guarantee you, there's so many members that are where you are, just like you learned from where other members that have come before you and other members that are still here, you've learned from them and the various stages that they are, and they've helped you to get to this point, right?
Yes. And one thing I really want to say, when I first joined the room, I was bouncing around like a ping pong ball. and you and Wiley was a whoa, wait a minute. Where are you? Where are you in the steps? And I was going, what are you doing this? And Wiley said, you're kind of jumping around.
He was checking your vitals.
Yeah, he was checking my vitals really good. And I thought it was like a wake up call. And I realized I had to calm my brain and listen to what you guys were telling me and realize that those steps are so important that don't deviate. And I, when I was going to have the appointment with my wealth manager, you were going, and what are you going to tell them when they ask where the currency, where your money's coming from? And I stood on this side of the phone going, oh my God, if I answer this bad, I know I'm going to be in trouble. And I had to stop. You made me stop and think about what I needed to say. And from that point on, it was like smooth sailing. It was like it all just fell into place. But you helped me get to that point by calming me down and making me stop and think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So I thank
and
you. I
look,
thank you for
you're
that.
welcome. You're welcome. Like I said, I learned from Wiley back in, I don't know if you even know what the old room is when we say that, but
Yes,
I
was on that group and I left
oh,
it.
okay.
Yeah.
But that's beautiful. But look at you now. Look where you are. And look where you're going. Huh? Yeah.
Peace.
Oh, I love that. Peace. Yes. So
Peace.
if you can share, and summarize and share with the people about that peace that you have. Where are you at now that is giving you that peace? What have you done?
First thing I did was I put it in God's hands. That was number one. And I told him, you've blessed me with this. You've guided me to this. And it's in your hands. And I want you to guide me to where I'm supposed to go, who I need to talk to, where I need to be.
Yeah.
And I really feel like that is what has happened, because I found this private wealth manager's their name. And I was looking at other ones, and I have reached out to make appointments with people. But when I saw this firm's name, in my heart, I knew that was who I was going to go with.
Okay.
And I mean, it's I know I shared the other day that my son had died, and
Yeah,
so
he was
it's been
46 years old, right?
He's 46 years old, yes, and it has been a spiritual journey for me from there. That was in October.
Oh, it
But
was recent.
yes,
Oh.
it's been a journey with God from that point on. I mean, a really close contact with my spiritual journey. So, and I listened, and when I was sitting there, I thought, do I really? And I put it off. And finally I thought, you can't put it off any longer. It has to be done. Do it now.
Right.
He's telling you to make the call. So I made the call.
Okay.
And it was like talking to a friend from the minute I started talking to him.
Wow. Not
Yeah.
surprised, but that's so awesome.
So
and you have meetings coming up, correct?
yes, I do. I have a Zoom meeting on Wednesday.
On Wednesday, that's right.
With him and another person. that he's bringing in. So,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. And this is at a
Yeah.
private wealth management firm. And I know
Yeah.
you already have your account with a tier one bank. They already, they, of course, they exchange foreign currency. You've
Yeah.
identified your private wealth manager. Now, are you going to diversify potentially with this particular wealth management firm and another wealth management firm or tier one bank? Or you think you're going to?
I had a call. Well, I sent an email to contact a tier one bank
Okay.
manager, a wealth manager there, but I haven't returned and I haven't received anything back from them. So
Okay.
I will be reaching out to another one.
Excellent.
I will be trying to go with I want to see what a tier one bank can do. But
Right.
the private wealth manager I spoke to, they cover they have CPAs there that work with them for the tax mitigation that goes in right when you're
Mm-hmm.
developing everything.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's better to know before than go to a CPA after. And he says, well, you could have saved money if you would have done this. And their
Mm-hmm.
approach is know what your tax mitigation can be before you get to the point it's too late to
Right.
make progress on your taxes.
Right.
So
Just
I really
imagine.
like that.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Uh-huh.
I really like that aspect of it. And
Mm-hmm.
we were on the phone for an hour and a half, and there was never any dead space. It was just blah, 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 blah with each other the whole time.
Right.
Uh,
Wow.
yeah. So
And
it was a
I,
wonderful feeling. I think I was so hyped up when I came back in the room and I was telling you about
uh,
it. It was like,
right.
you know.
And you know what? That reminds me. You did so. Speaking of reaching back and your excitement, I saw how someone posted a question in the room, and boom. Because at first, when you first were around, you were a little hesitant, you were a little unsure,
Yeah.
like you said, and had that little anxiety. But I noticed once you made that call, you established your relationships, you were like, "Oh, I got this." And someone asked a question in the room, boom, you jump right in and help them.
Yeah. I tried, and I'm thinking, and
Yes,
I get overzealous. I do.
that's
So
okay.
I'm thinking,
That's
okay,
okay.
okay, pull back a little,
That's
but
okay. That's okay. But you tried. And this is what Wiley posted in the room about reaching back and helping and getting back to our core. That's what you did. You aren't even you aren't even at the phase where a lot of members are, where
no,
their accounts are set up, their trust accounts set up. They have already have their relationships established with multiple firms, wealth management
yeah,
firms, and you aren't even there, but you immediately reached out to in the room to try to help someone right after you had your first Zoom call with your wealth manager. I love it. But see, that is something that desire to do so is what we want you to continue to do, and we want
okay,
other members to do. So don't
okay,
don't don't stop. Don't stop. Continue that because just imagine there are people that are right now are in the same situation that you were a few months ago, unsure, uncertain, timid, a little frightened.
yes,
But
yeah.
now they hear your story, but if Pistol's mom can do it, I can do it. I ain't scared no more. You know.
I, well, from the things I was posting, I think Friday, you know, I,
Mm-hmm,
I'm I'm a country girl. I have been my
mm-hmm,
whole life,
mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm,
I'm not one for glitz and glitter.
mm-hmm.
I'm pretty plain spoken,
That's why
but
you say your blue jeans and your boots.
that's right. And
Mm-hmm.
turquoise, yep. And
And
I'm
turquoise.
earthy, yep.
I remember. We're so proud of you. Wow.
Oh, but I really want to give a shout out to Wiley and all of
What?
the information that he shares. Oh my God,
Yes.
it's like there's all this information out there, and he was telling us about tax engineers, and I thought,
Mm-hmm.
huh? You Google tax engineers, there they are. But if you
Mm-hmm.
don't know they're there, you will never have the information to do it.
That's right.
Wiley, thank
Wiley,
you
Wiley, you want to
so much.
jump in here? Wiley, you have a moment?
Yeah, yeah, Pistol Bomb, you're welcome. I try to I try to give you guys a little bit of everything because there is so much in this arena that so
Yes,
many people are not aware of. And just
we've
for
never
instance,
even heard of it.
by all
We've never
means,
even heard of it.
right. But do go visit with your tier one bank. But I want you to understand that within the big box wealth management firms, they're going to have the ability to manage the sudden wealth in some areas of expertise that the bank won't be able to do. That's kind of like having some specialized CPAs, security consultants, investment advisors, and estate planners. I mean, there's just a plethora of what they can do in there. And I think
Yeah.
one of the things I really haven't touched on, but just briefly, is the security aspects. And I know we had a member that had a security breach this week, and they had to step away from the room to go handle that with their bank. And it was one of the people the bank hired that
Oh
had
my.
caused the breach. So you got to be very cognizant and careful about this stuff. And, two-factor authentications, there's a lot there that you're really going to
Yes.
want some people's expertise to help you down the road. So it's
Well,
okay
see,
to
I've got
diversify. It's okay to
I
build, but one can provide far more than the other. So just be aware of that.
okay. Well, I know just because I've had my credit card stolen, so I've got VPNs on my phone. I've got my
Yep.
credit report locked. They can't. People can't if they try to open an account. My credit report's locked.
Good deal.
So,
Yep.
there's things that you can do now to kind of safeguard yourself, but at the same time, the information is out there because of all the data harvesting that goes on with different websites.
100%. Yep. And that's why
And
it's very important to think about the security aspects in this as you move along. Sounds
yeah,
like you're already doing some of the premature stuff or pre stuff that you need to be doing now. But like you're managing those things, you're going to have to manage these new things as well and help put
yeah,
people in your sphere that will help you do that. That's
yeah,
why I talk about social circles being so important.
right, right. Well, I don't have a large social sphere. I've got some very, very good friends,
Mhm.
that I've had for like 20 plus years, most of them. And all related with horses. Yes, I'm a horse girl. So, but it's a very tight circle, and that's really the way I want to keep it. I'm not a party girl. I'm not a socializer. And you talk about networking, and I'm thinking, how am I going to do this? you know,
Well, it's not
how am I
just
going?
networking with personal social circles. Also,
Right.
think as your social circles will evolve with your CPAs, your tax planners, all these people you're putting in your wealth sphere that's going to be
Oh,
working with you, and they will become advisories and pseudo type friends as you grow with them. And that circle will lead to other
your
people that will
circles. Right.
build on that. So don't worry about the, hey, I'm a blue jeans and boot girl or whatever. You're gonna find your niche people. You really will.
And I kind of felt that way with the wealth manager. I thought I could see having a barbecue with this person, because
Hmm.
that that was just kind of the vibe I got. It's like this is a person that understands where I'm coming from, and but can help me grow from where I am now to where I need to be. So that was one of the vibes I got off of him. And
And that's key because where you are now and where you're going to be down the road are two different people and two different things. Because you're going to grow with that person, and that person wants to see you grow, and they want to see your wealth grow. Because when you earn, they earn.
yes, yes. But I think I had fun talking to this man, mainly because I had gotten so much knowledge from just the time I'd spent in the room and the time I spent researching things that you had told me and how to phrase things, and that made all the difference in the world. I could understand what he was telling me, and I could talk to him. I know I don't know everything. I'm not saying, but at least I knew enough to have a conversation with him, and that was so important.
Yeah, I mean, and Freedom could chime in on this piece a little bit, but we wish it were different. But a lot of gurus sent people to the banks and really mucked up the banks from wanting to talk to
Um,
people to just come in and say, hey, I bought currencies in the past. Are you working with them? Most banks are reticent to not talk about it because that leads to the guru breath. And they've seen that for years and they just don't have the bandwidth or time to deal with it. And they just dismiss you pretty quickly. So what we've provided you was an avenue that we know would work and a verbiage we know that will get their
yeah.
attention. Also, the
Yeah.
Mhm.
questions that you asked a wealth manager were geared to get their attention, so you at least get the audience that you needed and get the right foot
In the
going
door.
forward.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Mhm.
And it made all the difference in the world. When I quit, when I got rid of the guru brain, um, it made a world of difference. It really, really did. I thought, I'm going about this all wrong. All wrong.
See, the saddest that thing is, and Wiley can attest to this, a lot of people with guru brain and guru breath, they don't even know they have it. It's just normal for them until they hear someone like you now, where you're at now, and other members with your success stories, and it's totally a different approach. Like Wiley's saying, with we the steps and the question sort of loads your lips. It
Yeah.
loads your lips when you go in there because you're prepared mentally. And like you said, you're a country girl.
I am.
Yeah, it's not. I don't. I would. I don't think you have a PhD in finance.
No, no.
So if you can go in there, you can follow the steps, and you can go in there and have this great peace and success that you had. Would you think anyone can do it?
Yes. If they follow the steps and they listen to what everybody that's gone before them tells them, and how to
Mhm.
handle it, and um to not just open your mouth and let everything fall out.
Yes, I'm glad you said
Yeah.
that. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
Yeah, when you
yes.
walk in, start talking about Jamie Dimon and Iraq and all this stuff, it's a
No,
huge
no, no,
turnoff
no.
because they can't even speak about that because it's still an exotic currency. So there's
Mhm.
Right.
nothing they can say or nothing for them to do because they're not able to speak about things that just aren't regulated.
Yeah,
Right.
and that goes back, Wiley, to what you had said a few minutes ago about how in with these banks where they've been turned off by dinar land and people coming from these guru rooms because of speaking these terms and speaking these things. And so, Pistol's mom, fortunately you found us so
Yes.
that when you went to the bank, when you made the call with the private wealth management firm, that guru breath that was behind you. Now look where you're at because you put that behind you and you found us. But that's a
Yes.
testament to you because you prayed for the
I did. I
the, the
prayed for guidance.
guidance.
Yeah.
hmm And so
Yeah.
therefore you received it. Whereas some people may pray for the RV, pray for, and the answer to that prayer is already in existence. Now we just share the guidance. That's all people
Right.
need. Is the steps is just the guidance. It's the
It is.
blueprint. So
It
See,
is.
and that's the
But
bigger thing there is the RV is already a foregone conclusion. We know that's
mhm,
happening. That's transpiring and things are building to get there. But
yeah.
what people need to be prepared for is wealth on the other side and having a team of folks that are experts where people are not, and you doing the pre-work to be pre-qualified and ready to go when you're ready to drop your assets into an account and work.
Right.
oh wow,
And
Wiley.
to
I
have
thought
to
Wiley was
have
gonna say
been
something else. You said
to
drop
have
your
been
assets. I didn't I didn't
Yeah.
catch it right away. I was too
Yeah.
fast to listen. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Crystal's mom.
It's a
well, it
family
was
show, Freedom.
so it was oh, it was so amazing to sit and talk to this man and be able to say, I don't want to wait until the money is here because I know the process takes more than 3 days. I know that there are steps that have to be followed on their end that they can't do in a day. It's not one, they have to know what your goals are and what you want to do with your wealth, and they need time to figure out the best way to structure that for you. And that can't be done in 1 or 2 days. It
That's
cannot.
right.
And know they
And
probably appreciate you for recognizing that and being knowledgeable on their end of what it's going to take for them to do this for you, and that you're willing to take this step by step process with them and
right,
not let anxiety or push them. Because the
no,
last thing we want somebody to do is get blacklisted. That's what we're
Mm,
trying to avoid.
mm-hmm.
right. And that's disrespecting them and what they have to do. And
Yes,
um, as we all know, legal matters take time. Setting up legal structures with and having to know everything that they know to put it where all your bases are covered, they're looking after you. You have to give them time to do this.
these are highly
And
regulated entities that have
yeah,
a step by step process that has to be handled in a very methodical way.
yeah. And it doesn't get done in a day or two or even a week or
That's
two.
correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you have to have your goals in mind and pretty well, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to do X, Y, Z. How do I get there the best way? And then let them work on it and tell you what they can do.
Right, right.
100%. Yep.
And I like what you said, Pistol's mom, about tax mitigation and the preparation up front and the wealth manager mentioned that, because just imagine if you would have waited until you had the money to then talk about tax mitigation.
Yes, yes,
That would be a nightmare. But you're being very proactive, and your wealth manager commended you for being proactive, and that's very important.
right. Well, I was amazing the amount of information that was being exchanged, and I absolutely enjoyed the conversation with this man. I really did. It was just
Beautiful,
and
beautiful.
I
Well,
I'm
we
I'm looking forward to it. Usually I was thinking, "Oh my God, I'm gonna be so nervous. I'm gonna be so nervous." And I thought, God's got this,
that's right.
you know? Just
That's right.
don't stand in his way. God has got this.
That's right. And we're so proud of you. You're doing such a tremendous job, and thank you again for being such a help to others in the room. And as you continue on your journey, just continue just to reach back and help others, because you're a great testament to what needs to be done.
Okay. I'll,
All
I'll
right.
I'll
Yeah.
be glad
And
to do it.
thank you, beautiful. And we look forward to your update. I know your call, your next one is next Wednesday, and
Yeah.
whatever we can do to help you forward, just let us know.
Okay. Just be thinking of me that day.
We sure will. We sure will. Thank you
Okay.
so
Well,
much,
thank you
beloved.
so much for talking to me. I've enjoyed it. And thank you for all your knowledge that you're sharing with everybody. And if you're
Mm,
new, if this is the first podcast you've ever listened to, don't let it be your last.
there you
Just make sure you join in and join the room. There's a lot of fun that goes on, but there's so
go.
much knowledge that comes out of that room every day.
We are. It is comedy hour every hour almost, but yeah, you're right.
I love
Thank you.
I love brunette granny's gifts. I
Oh,
wish
she's
I
the
could.
best.
Oh man.
She's the
And I'm
best.
thinking, where do you get the gifts and how do you get them on there? And I'm thinking, okay, gift 101. Charlotte
She's
needs to
she
take it.
she's quick on the draw. Thank you
Yes,
so
she
much,
is.
beloved. We appreciate you.
Okay. All right.
All
Thanks,
right.
guys. Bye bye.
Yes, indeed. All right. Bye bye. All right. Next, we have up the one and only. This young lady came highly recommended. She comes from good stock. Miss Lotus, if you can unmute our young lady.
I'm here.
There she is.
Hi, hi,
How
hi.
you?
Greetings, everyone. Greetings, Mr. Freedom.
Greetings, young lady. You have such an amazing story, an amazing journey. Folks that don't know, Lotus comes very highly recommended from She-Hulk. And, and very close to She-Hulk. And folks, this comes back to reaching back, each one teach one, helping someone else. Because She-Hulk has been helping and teaching Lotus. Lotus has been in the room, lurking back in the background, late night, early morning, taking her notes. And Lotus has a very unique story that with her relationships that she's established But of course, Lotus, we don't want you to give the extreme details because you have a very, very unique structure for yourself with the bank. So we don't want that out there in the public because it's not supposed to be. But if you could share what you can share to help others and to share where you are, because you've established your relationships, we would love for you to do that, young lady.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. Before my story, I just want to begin with my acknowledgments because, I get so excited sometimes and I'm silly. So I have to tell you, I'm silly and I love giggling with you guys. So
Yes.
on this serious part, I know that this phenomenal woman does not like to be mentioned, but I'm going to do it anyway. My captain, our queen, Lady E, thank you. You are the real GOAT. That's G period O period A period T period. And I see you.
Mm-hmm.
Number
She
two, big
is. She
thanks.
truly is. Yes, and she is.
Yes. Big thanks to you, Mr. Freedom, for bringing us liberty from our comatose state of goo foo foo. And for taking on the fight in your face. I see you too.
Thank you, beloved.
And number three, big thanks to Mr. Wiley for your quiet presence, your soft skills, and the high command of EQ, your emotional intelligence as it relates to finance and our beingness too, because I know that requires a heartbreak coherence and it's invaluable. I see you.
Amen.
And last but not least, a big thanks to the room and all those who've gone before me and shared your precious stories. I see you. So I
Yes,
just wanted to
indeed.
get that.
Thank you. That's beautiful.
You're welcome. So a precursor to this experience that I've had, and that's that I've had my vision for some years now. And I simply leveraged a pre-existing instrument, and that's my private foundation.
Mm-hmm.
I am out here in the wild, wild west in the city that's 7 miles in length and 7 miles in width. And many people have left their hearts here. So you have to figure that out. Um, my story is it is a, a tier one bank, the number one in the US.
Mm-hmm.
I did a walk in to simply say hello to my private banker and to give an update. And also wanted to share with them that I wanted to set up a Q&A. And of course, I knew that was Mr. Wiley's 9 questions.
Right.
And to my dismay, my private banker was no longer at that location. I had been calling and couldn't get through. And so I said, I just have to go by here. And they said, oh, well, that person is not here. But listen to this, guys. The great news was that I was talking to the assistant vice president
Oh.
for private client banking that told me that my banker was no longer there.
Okay.
So I just took a second and I read his body language. And the next thing I knew, we were in his private glass office chatting it up. And I rolled out not only with his information and what they could do for me, and also the name, office, cell phone number, email, all of that for the new wealth manager in that current office. And of course, they also let me know where my private banker had moved to.
Okay.
So on April 16th, I reached out via phone to my private banker and we reconnected. We shared some personal stories, et cetera. And I informed them that I had a few more questions, but I needed a little more time for clarity for those questions. And then I'd simply email to them. And afterwards, set up an appointment to come into the office and discuss. We both followed up with emails over the next week or so. And then, wait for it. Now comes a little tap. They send an email and say, I haven't received the questions.
Oh my Lord.
And if you want to call me, please feel free. Well,
Uh-huh.
I knew up front that I would be the one setting the pace. And so thank you, Pistol's mom, because I really heard you too. My goal was always to be the pace setter and that I'm anxious for nothing. And so I purposely waited and of course responded to the email with a gracious thank you for checking in and following up. So I sent the questions a few days later, and for 2 days, I heard nothing back, but I knew it was a TKO.
I love that.
The third day, I received an email from the private banker saying, starting that, oh, they forwarded my questions to their private client advisor from wealth management team, and that person is an experienced advisor that does things right and nothing shady. I couldn't believe I read that, but I
That
couldn't
was the
believe
language. That was the
that was the
language.
language. That was the language. That was their language, not mine.
Wow.
And then they told me they are really appreciating the opportunity to work with me. And I thanked them and proceeded to take my time and do my homework on this new person. And I found out that this person has a 30-year documented experience.
Beautiful.
So they sent a full schedule for their availability. And again, I waited until it was good for me, and then I scheduled. And I had the meeting this week with the private banker and the senior advisor at the same time.
Wow.
With confidence and preparation, we greeted, we sat down. I unzipped my big, large 3-ring binder and unzipped my portfolio to let them know that I'm a serious person about my legacy. And I handed each of them the prepared document with their name, date, time, place of the meeting with the 9 questions. The senior advisor sat quietly. And then the senior advisor slid the chair back from the desk and picked up the paper and looked over at my banker and sort of laughed a bit and then stated, I got these questions and I looked at them. I have to say it's been quite a while since I've been interviewed. And then he started busting up laughing, and I didn't break the silence. I was not going to speak. And then finally we broke the ice. We laughed a lot. There was lots of conversation, and then then they said, I want to understand a bit more about the scope of my vision. And then they said, after this meeting, are you okay with all possibilities for the outcome? And I didn't hesitate. And I said, of course, absolutely. I am in for the process. And then I asked this person, the senior, how many clients do you take on? How many assets under management do you have? And in complete transparency, this person went to their 3 screens that they had been working on. They counted and said 15. And I guessed it within 2 because I said 17.
So they're only taking 50, only taking 15 clients.
That's what they had current, present, and not going to take much more. However, then this person asked to take a glance at my instrument because, of course, I brought them. But more importantly, this person asked, and I shared my self-declared statement for my foundation. Once I did that, the senior looked over to the junior, shaking their head, and literally put his hand way over his head. As a matter of fact, this person did that several times and then said, you and your foundation require a specialized team. I'm a wealth manager in the private for individuals, couples, etc. Then the senior advisor got really, really quiet. And then they looked again at the colleague who's my private banker and says, I'm going to help you out, but I really, really need to take a little time to think about how and who within our resources, a one-stop shop that has everything you need for foundations, churches, et cetera, blah, blah, blah. Are you okay with me thinking about this? It's going to take probably a couple of weeks because I really do have to think, but we will absolutely follow up with you. I promise you that. And we talked about my passion. This person kept referring to what I look like, literally talking about my face, how I looked, how I beamed when I speak about my passion. And the senior kept referencing that to the younger colleagues, saying that this is what it looks like. This right here is what it looks like. And this was absolutely an incredible, exhilarating experience. And so I'm going to email this week and send a card and just say thank you so much for taking time to meet with me, and to let them know, of course, I'm not rushing them because I told them I'm anxious for nothing. And that they are going to go through their process, get back with me with some folks that are more suitable, because the senior said, he said, this is not my lane. He said, this is way past my lane coming, talking about the type of instrument that you have in place. But I understand completely after meeting you. And he understood that I don't do Zooms. He was so happy that I don't do Zooms. I said, no, I don't care where they are. I will go to them. We'll meet halfway or something, because I know in an instant, who is in alignment and who is truly thinking about the best interest of my legacy in perpetuity, that I want something that is unpenetrable. I need something that cannot be pierced, and that it needs to stay in place for 100 years, long after I'm gone, my nieces are gone, because I don't have children. And so this is really important to me, that I make sure that my nieces are protected from themselves in case they get married, that their spouses are not to have access to any of these things. Those are the type of people I need on my team.
Beautiful. And so it sounds like they are elevating you to a higher level, because that is where you that's where you deserve to be. I love their transparency to tell you up front that based on the structure that you have, the instrument that you have, that you're required, they are required now to really take you to the next level of people that can really help you within
Correct.
within the institution. I love that.
Correct.
I love it. I love it. Wow, Wiley, you want to jump in here, my good man?
Well, first of all, I didn't know we were going to be so formal, Mr. Freedom. But Lotus speaks volumes when she knows Lady E, and she's the real
Uh-huh.
brains behind this whole operation. You and I are just
Right.
the face.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
but Lotus, good for you, girl. And Lady E shared a little bit about your success and how you did that and what you have going. And kudos to you. You had all your stuff in a row. You had your ducks in a row. You were prepared. And when you hit those guys at that level, I mean, they really have to think, because they're having to go get their counterparts internally to meet you where you're at, because you are above
Mhm,
them. That's how far you are.
mhm,
And that speaks volumes to who you are, what your vision is, what your plan is. Keep going. With
mhm,
that mental focus, there's nothing but success for you.
mhm,
Thank you, Mr. Wiley, for your consistent presence. I listen, I study. I'm a fairly good student, and I read lasciviously. And when you posted, I told Lady E, I laughed till tears. I said, listen, I'm a night owl, and I am, there's a time difference. So when she's posting, I'm up reading
Hmm.
still. And it's the wee hours of the night for us. And when she posted the tax engineer, just like Pistol's mom said, my brain went spinning like a dreidel top. For 3 days. I couldn't sleep. I didn't sleep for 3 solid days, researching, studying, understanding,
mhm,
Hmm.
reading. It was insane to get these huge nuggets, such as that when you wrap your brain around this, is so powerful. It is so unbelievably powerful, that I realize that the power lies within us when we
That's
are
right.
armed with the information. So I really did feel comfortable and confident walking in there. I just had to remind myself to breathe and to stay paced, and to not allow anyone to push me to a mark where I'm not ready to go to.
Yeah.
And it felt really, really good. And so I'm so grateful to all of you, all the facilitators, and the folks sharing their stories, because if it were not for Lady E, I would not be sharing this. And it's because she's the GOAT that I'm sharing.
Well, knowledge is power. And when you
Yeah.
have that knowledge, even though you may not have everything around it, when you walk into these meetings, you know enough to understand what they're saying, or you can put something out there a bit where they're able to expound on it a little bit. But what I really loved is these guys were taken aback by you and your presence of mind to lay everything out for them. Even the fact that he goes, it's been a while since I've been interviewed. I love that.
Yeah. He did say, he
It's
laughed.
powerful.
It was really funny, but I was not going to speak next.
Well, it showed him that you were in control of your ship and you have a
Mhm,
destiny that you want to take this ship to. And
right.
hey,
Yeah.
I'm looking for a crew to help me
Mhm,
navigate that. Is it you? And they're saying yes, but it isn't me. Let me figure out who internally that key person is for your success.
And you know what else? I didn't say this in my story, but I've also vetted a person who is a JD. This is private. This is private. A private JD who actually holds the charter financial consultant designation and also has their Series 7, 63, 65 licenses and blah, blah, blah.
Nice.
And so this senior person at this tier bank this week asked me, how is it going in vetting the other folks? Are you feeling good about it? And then this person said, I want you to know I spent 11 years with Schwab and I was recruited here from there. I think 11 or 14 years, something like that. I know he has 29 SROs, which blew my mind, and then some. And so I was transparent, totally authentic and transparent. And I said, I'm still waiting for final decisions. And so I'm taking my time. And that's why I'm here, because of my private banker. I clicked with this person some years ago, and I always knew that this private banker that I had to track down again was someone very special. And
Yeah.
so I followed my nose.
Well, and don't be afraid as you build some of these things that even you may be doing this work over here and say you do have this foundational thing you're doing. Don't be afraid to go back to those people and say, hey, can I pay you for your time, for expertise and the guidance of helping me do this? I mean, I've done that when I've ran not for profits. I bring
Mm-hmm.
in experts.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, hey, how would you feel about being on this not for profit with me and using your years and experience in this and guide me? And that's how I've learned some things. So don't be
Thank
afraid to
you.
leverage them a bit, because you can pay these people handsomely for that work. And a lot of them are willing to do it because it's just something else on their resume that they can pad it with. And they can say, hey, I was a part of that at one time when it was in its infancy. Look at it now.
Yes. Thank you for that. Thank you so much, Mr. Wiley. Thank you.
You're welcome. And
Thank
That's
thank
you.
you for
beautiful.
the kind words. I do appreciate that. I've pretty formal tonight. So
Well, I do listen to everything. I don't miss much because, this is a little big city. And I just remember some of the comments you said, don't do the jig in the parking lot, don't do wait till you get home to do the jig. And
yeah,
so, and those are those soft skills that I've noticed about you and I've observed about you because I'm a student and I listen to that and I realize that comes from years and years of experience that you are willing to share with us, because it's not just the professional aspect of the finances, but it's about building your own person, the beingness of who we are as individuals, to understand that it what's the word? It crosses over. Who you are in the dark is who you are in the light all the time.
yeah. And we're trying to give you so much information. We're trying to give you the Cliff Notes version of so much so fast. It is a lot to take in. And it
It
really
is.
is. And this overwhelms a lot of people that they won't even go and attempt to try this. That's why a lot of people out there just poo poo what Freedom and I do, because it's like, oh, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to wait. Somebody can tell me what to do. That's just too much work. You get what you put in.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's right.
And if you
I
put this
agree.
much effort in that, the reward on the other side is so much better. I mean, look at this. What they're only going to have, what, 16 people now? Because I guarantee you, you're already one of them. They're going to do everything to recruit you, and you're going to be one of their 17. Or they said they have 17, and they're only taking a few more. I guarantee you're
Well,
on
well,
that short list.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There is
yeah.
no doubt in my mind they're still talking about that meeting.
Mm-hmm. And I
Freedom and
love.
I hear from bankers. We hear from
Mm-hmm.
them periodically. And what
Mhm.
they tell us is we're teaching you the right things. And you guys are walking in very methodical, very knowledgeable. But the problem is they go through 20 or 30 people before they hit somebody like you, or for somebody like anybody in this room that we send. So they see a lot of trash before they get to that gym. And a
Right.
lot of these people are thinking, oh my God, this might be my unicorn.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Right.
Trust
Yeah.
me. they're still talking about you, Lotus. I
Yeah.
guarantee it. I know your backstory, and I don't want to put it all out there, but I guarantee you they're still talking about you. With what you brought to the table, I guarantee it.
Yeah. And I love how she described how the wealth manager, how the gentleman kept putting his hand above his head. That body language is like he was saying, God, dog, where did she come from? And then
I'm
to
blown
say that
away
he's
with
never been interviewed before. It's been a long time
well,
since he's been interviewed.
he's blown away, and all those years
Yeah.
of experience, he's like, my God, how come I can't have all clients walk through my door like this? This is
Right.
a dream to
Yeah.
have somebody so professional, so well versed, so astute and knowledgeable about where they're going. Yes, I want to be a crew member on the SS Lotus. Sign me up.
You know what, Mr. Wiley? That's how we broke the ice. You just said the SS Lotus, and I every opportunity I get, I'm on the water because I'm working on my captain's license. And
Awesome.
when I brought up the fact that the scenario that we had, it's a huge yearly thing called opening day. And it's a very special thing. And that really broke the ice because, of course, I had a few pictures. And this person said, "Can I see?" And then it was just from there, they shared one of their stories about having a boat back east in Pennsylvania, blah, 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 those types of things.
Mhm.
And it really just opened the floodgates of just complete transparency. What can we do? Tell me more, because that's where it went to. Tell me more, tell me more, tell me more. And then they finally said, I have the scope now. I get it. And then they did
Oh,
the thing again over their head, over their head, and said, and said apologetically, but and I said, no apology required. I'm not the person. This is not my lane. However, and then that's when the latter transpired. And I'm like, it's okay. It's
I
okay
love that.
because
I love that he
I'm
says,
here.
"Hey, I'm the private guy. I've got to get you the guy that focuses on what you got, and
Hmm.
you are above me at this point, and well beyond my depth and breadth of knowledge and expertise. I'm going to find you the right person. Give me a bit of time, but I will find
Right.
them for you."
That's exactly pretty much what he's saying. So I hope they ordered the red carpet this weekend.
I love how you built that rapport with him and you
Mhm.
found common ground and you built a bit of a dialogue before you really jumped into the meat of the business and you kind of dipped back in and out and made it very seamless. That is masterclass work.
Yeah.
Well,
And
thank you
and
and Mr.
they're
Freedom.
you're welcome. And I think about it, Wally, they're taking 15 to 16 clients, but those folks that they're going to introduce her to a step above, another level, they're only going to take a less
Yeah, they
clients.
could only have 3 or 4.
That's what I
Hmm.
was thinking. And that, of course, makes you a little bit, but I just, whatever it is, this experience, because if it's not there, it's somewhere else. I know that everything's in alignment. That's what I know for sure.
Great spirit.
This is why we preach so hard to go do this. Because when you put yourself out there ahead of time and not waiting for the assets to hit, and you've built these rapports, you have laid foundational work to where now you are above all that. So when you walk back in, you're already pre vetted. You're a tier higher. And I don't mean to negate everybody else, but I'm just saying you've elevated yourself with your presence, with your presentation, with everything you're done and have done that pre-work. They're like, yeah, oh yeah. Clear this lobby out. That's my person right there I want to talk to. I've already had conversations. That is somebody I want. These guys are going to clear their calendars for the cream of the
Hmm.
crop people that they want to work with. And as much as
Right.
you're interviewing them, they are definitely taking notes of the people they truly want to go and work with. And you, my dear, are one of the top caliber.
Absolutely. Beautiful. Excellent. You did
I love
such an
this story,
amazing.
Freedom. I love Lotus.
Yeah. Yes, she is amazing. And when I think about it, when we can look at Lotus and Pistol's mom from two far different ends of the spectrum,
Mm-hmm.
but reach the same result of establishing their relationships by just following the steps.
Well, Lotus is a little further down the road. Pistol's
Mm-hmm.
mom's really kind of getting out of the gate, but she's succeeding in short order. And then we got
Mm-hmm.
Lady Unique, who's got all kinds of dates and things planned with all these, new men in her life. But it surprises me, and in some fashions, it doesn't surprise me how fast people grow in this, and they grow
Right,
in their skill and the ability to
right.
keep the communications and the line of communications with their
Oh, yeah.
future, you know, deck mates and driving that ship to where they want to be, and these guys are
Checkmate.
on board for it.
I love it, Mr. Wiley. You must be a captain yourself. Well, you the captain for sure of somebody's ship I know.
The only
I
thing I'm
love it.
allowed to manage is a little rubber dinghy because that's my speed right now. No big boats.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you guys.
You're
You
welcome.
guys
Lotus,
Thank
thank
you
you
so
for
for
sharing
thank
very
you.
that.
much. I mean,
No, thank
there's not enough thanks to share how you guys have shaped not just myself, but I know some others too, in our community that we powwow every week. Every single week we powwow together over what we have what we've gleaned from what you post. So thank you so much. Thank you.
So Lady E must come to your meetings and say, "Oh, you ain't gonna believe what Mr. Freedom and Mr. Wiley were doing this week, and I had to get them back for
Absolutely
you."
not. No, I can honestly say Lady E is so busy. She does not. Those days, we've all graduated in her class. We've graduated.
Yeah,
Beautiful, and
she's
that's
She deserves
yeah.
some 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 privacy.
yeah, we love her. She's the
Yes,
real captain of everything behind scenes.
yeah,
Keeps the
Absolutely.
wheels on the bus. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
absolutely. Yep, the yellow bus for us sometimes. But yeah,
Yeah, it's not a short bus. That's peculiar
no.
rims.
Thank you so much, Lotus. We appreciate you and your story. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So
Lotus,
amazing.
if you don't mind, share with Lady E so I can keep track of your growth, where you're going, and if you ever need anything and whatever, happy to help point you in a direction.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
Awesome.
much. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful, and I will
Yeah,
do that. Thank you.
awesome. 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 Stick around. We're going to get into these articles. Thank you so much. Beautiful people, you're listening on YouTube, wherever you're at. You can join Lotus, Pistol Mom, and others, the tribe. You have the opportunity to establish these relationships as well. Simple 8 steps. We'll wrap our arms around you in the room when you come in. We'll have the welcome committee to welcome you in. We'll get you on your way. It costs you nothing. Just click the link at the top of the description and you have the opportunity as well. Now let's get into these articles. We're going to miss our beautiful Peculiar Ram tonight. Let's keep her mom in our prayers, and let's get rock and roll. So y'all stuck with my little raspy voice tonight, and let's go. All right, all right, all right. First, we'll get into Vietnam, folks. Vietnam is literally passing laws as of beginning of last Monday for 37 days straight, including weekends. Vietnam is passing laws and reforms that will make an impact on the Vietnamese dong. This is all related to tariffs. So let's jump into it. The tax negotiations, this is by Goldilocks, the tax negotiations between the U.S. and Vietnam during tariff talks are strategic. They're a strategic effort to address trade imbalances, reduce barriers, which are trade barriers, and protect Vietnam's export-driven economy from crippling tariffs. So, folks, what this is, with the tariffs that Trump has threatened to impose on Vietnam and others, specifically Vietnam, if Trump imposes those 46% tariffs on Vietnam, it could literally cripple and bankrupt their economy. This is why they've rushed to the table to negotiate. I'll continue. Vietnam's offers to lower tariffs and crack down on trade fraud reflect its urgency to maintain U.S. market access, while the U.S. leverages tariffs to push for fair trade practices. Well, what is the urgency to maintain U.S. market access? Well, that is what Vietnam is doing. Vietnam is actually, U.S. is Vietnam's biggest trade partner. Vietnam has access to our markets. Vietnam has access to the U.S. markets. This is why it's saying, Goldilocks is sharing, that these tariffs crack down on Vietnam's trade fraud, reflecting its urgency to maintain its U.S. market access. See, these tariffs would cripple their access to the U.S. market, therefore crippling their economy. They don't want that. So let's talk about market economy access and then market economy status. There's a difference. A market economy status and market economy are not the same. Market economy access refers to the ability of a country, let's say Vietnam, or entity to engage in trade and economic activity in a particular market. Vietnam, they want to continue shipping goods and services into the U.S. market. The U.S. has been Vietnam's piggy bank for the last 50 plus years. The U.S. market, the United States of America, has been Vietnam's sugar daddy for the last 50 years. And now it involves opening up to international trade, investing, and potentially receiving preferential treatment in some markets. Vietnam has been receiving preferential treatment from the U.S. This is one of the reasons why over the last 20 some odd years, Vietnam has been the second fastest growing economy. Actually, now they're considered the fastest growing economy. They've passed up China, large in part because of the United States, where Vietnam has been able to ship as much as they want into the United States, when they want into the United States, all these massive contracts and agreements with the United States, but the United States, Vietnam will not allow to come into their market. That's unfair. That's not fair trade. So now let's talk about market economy. That was market economy access we just talked about, which is access to our market. Market economy status is when Vietnam is recognized and classified as having a status. This is like with Lotus just talking about her meeting with her wealth manager. The gentleman put his hand over his head and pretty much told her that she's at a level above him. He needs to give her a whole nother status because his status isn't good enough. She's a step above. So now she will have another status. She had access to him, but now they're going to give her another status to someone above him. Market economy is a status above market economy access. So let's talk about that. Market economy status, on the other hand, is a legal designation used by organizations such as the World Trade Organization, which affects how other World Trade Organization members can treat a country in terms of tariffs and other trade-related measures. So now, see, market economy access is like Vietnam can have more access to the U.S. market, and the U.S. have more access to theirs. Market economy status is when the World Trade Organization, for example, and the United States designates Vietnam to have that same level of elevated status to not just the United States, but all countries around the world that are members of the World Trade Organization. Therefore, what that does is it opens Vietnam to the world on a whole nother status than where it is presently. Because what Vietnam has been doing for the last 40 plus, 50 plus years is having all this amazing access, market access to the United States and other countries but while continuously devaluing the Vietnamese dong. Market economy status, automatically with that designation, they can't manipulate and devalue the Vietnamese dong because they have to let go of the Vietnamese dong control. They have to let go of control of the Vietnamese dong and allow the world market through supply and demand of goods on the water that will determine the value of the Vietnamese dong. So Goldilocks continues, essentially, market economy status is a recognition of a country's economic system as a market-based system, influencing how they are treated in international trade. So via the World Trade Organization, that's international trade. Vietnam will be able to have even better and more fair deals, trade deals with all these countries, including the United States. See, what many of you don't know is although Vietnam has grown to the fastest growing economy within the last 20 some odd plus years, Vietnam has shut off their own economy to the world, whereby other countries are not able to import goods into Vietnam. So basically, Vietnam has like shut their borders down for anyone coming in to do business with them, but they can go out and export to others. And what that has done, that doesn't allow the Vietnamese dong to grow in value and rate because they shut it off to the world. Although Vietnam is a member of the World Trade Organization, but their currency value is extremely low, but that's because they've done it intentionally. This is why, for those of you who we've shared in the room, a part of the negotiations for the tariffs, Trump made it very clear that Vietnam and others had to stop manipulating their currency. They've been taking advantage. So now we see where a market-based economy, this is what Goldilocks is sharing, a market-based economy significantly impacts currency exchange rates. Why? How is that? Because the Vietnamese dong will be able to be open to the global international markets. Vietnam's economy can open to other countries around the world to do business. Therefore, the Vietnamese dong will be able to move. When these countries do business in Vietnam, they'll settle transactions in the Vietnamese dong. So think billions, even trillions of dollars, and how the Vietnamese dong will be impacted, because this is the market now. Market forces like supply and demand for foreign currency exchange are the primary drivers for exchange rate fluctuations in countries with floating exchange rate regimes. Economic indicators like the GDP, which is the gross domestic product, inflation and interest rates, as well as factors like political stability and trade balances, all influence the value of a currency within a market-based economy. Folks, when we showed you the statistics of Vietnam having the fastest growing economy, it was their fastest growing GDP, the gross domestic product. In a market-based economy with a floating exchange rate, the value of a currency is determined by the interactions of supply and demand in the foreign exchange market. If demand for a currency is high, its value will increase and vice versa. See, with what happens is when Vietnam opens their economy to the global market, the Vietnamese dong, the demand for it increases, because all of these countries and these private businesses around the world will have access to Vietnam's market, Vietnam's economy. The Vietnamese dong will have to be utilized to settle transactions. And we're going to get into, so we're going to, I'm going to zip through something here shortly and show you how these tariffs and how trade influences foreign currency exchange rates This is something, actually Goldilocks shared it the other day. I don't think too many people caught it. Well, maybe Sniper. I think Sniper, I'm sure he caught it. But we'll get to that in a moment. What I'm going to share here is this is the laws that Vietnam, they're going to need to pass in order for the Vietnamese dong to be considered a market economy. In fact, you know what? Let's do this. I'm going to pivot. All right. We're going to have a little pivot because I'm going to show you something right now to prove what I'm talking about. This is what Lady Unique would say is receipts. This is what Lady Unique would call receipts. I'm going to put this back in the room. Let me put this back in the room because this is going to be the receipt. The first link that is in this article, we're not going to read this article, but what we're going to share is the first link in this article that Goldilocks posted. This is the first link to prove this point to you. Boom, 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 boom. This is from Investopedia. How the balance of trade, this is where tariffs go into effect, how the balance of trade affects currency exchange rates. How the balance of trade affects currency exchange rates. Folks, the tariffs is all about trade. I'm going to read this. How the balance of trade affects currency exchange rates. The balance of trade influences currency exchange rates through its effect on foreign exchange supply and demand. So think of the dong, supply and demand, how the exchange rate would be affected. When a country's trade account does not net zero, that is, when exports are not equal to imports, there's a relatively more supply of or demand for a country's currency. This influences the price of that currency on the world market. This is why President Trump has forced the negotiations with all these countries, and of course, we're talking about Vietnam, so that they stop manipulating their currency, because through trade, this is why Goldilocks coined the phrase over 5 years ago to watch the water, because it is on the water through trade that affects the currency exchange rates. I'm going to continue. Currency exchange rates are quoted as a relative values. I'm going to skip down to how trade influences the demand for currency. How trade influences the demand for currency. For those that are following, you can just scroll down a little bit to the bold where it says, I'm going to go there. The relative values of currencies are influenced by the demand for them. And that demand is influenced by trade. This is from Investopedia. This is in link, it's the first link in that article I posted in the room by Goldilocks. Goldilocks is giving you the receipts to show you how our foreign currency exchange, how the rates will go up through trade. If a country exports more than it imports, known as a trade surplus, which we know Vietnam last year at $123 billion trade surplus, trading with the United States, just with the United States, 123 billion. That's just with the United States. Think about all the other 100 plus countries that they do trade with. So if a country exports more than it imports, known as a trade surplus, there is a high demand for its goods and thus for its currency. The economics of supply and demand dictate that when demand is high, prices rise and the currency appreciates in value. Now listen, that didn't happen with Vietnam. Vietnam had a trade surplus. So therefore, there was a higher demand for their goods. Therefore, their currency should reflect that demand. But what has Vietnam done? Manipulated their currency value, kept it low, so that they can make extreme profit on the back end. So let's continue. In contrast, if a country imports more than it exports, That's known as a trade deficit. Well, the United States trading with Vietnam in the last several years, in last year specifically, 23 billion that Vietnam, their surplus, they make more. And the trade deficit has been with the US, 123 billion deficit. So in contrast, if a country imports more than exports, known as a trade deficit, there is a relatively less demand for its currency. So prices should decline. So the value of the US dollar should have declined because the imports, we had more imports, meaning Vietnam was importing more into the United States, and there's been no equilibrium, there's been no balance of trade, and us exporting goods to them. But we're going to see here soon, shortly, in a few minutes, how that's all changing. And Vietnam is changing their laws, passing laws to allow the United States and other countries to now come into Vietnam and ship goods. And this is the whole root cause of the tariff negotiations. Trump put the tariffs on Vietnam, saying, if you want to continue pilfering the United States and having this surplus of 123 billion in importing all these goods into our country, you got to open Vietnam for us to do the same thing. And what that does, it forces more demand for the Vietnamese dong, which in the open global market, which also forces the rate to go up. So let's continue. Let's skip down to the bold. How does a higher exchange rate affect trade? When a country's exchange rate increases relative to another country's, the price of its goods and services increase. Imports can become cheaper. Ultimately, this can decrease the country's exports and increase imports. This is all how it affects currency exchange rates. Now, how is the value of currency affected by demand? Increasing demand for a country's goods and services increases demand for its currency. That in turn increases the currency's value. Hasn't Vietnam's goods and services been very high in demand? Yes. Don't they have a major surplus with the US and other countries? Yes. Shouldn't their currency value increase? Yes. Has it? No. Why? They've been manipulating their currency. They've been manipulating the Vietnamese dong. They've been literally devaluing the Vietnamese dong. How they've been able to do it? Because the central bank of Vietnam controls the rate of the Vietnamese dong. How will the value of the Vietnamese dong go up through supply and demand? Once they are classified as a market economy, to allow the global market to have access to their market. All right. Hope I explained that all right. Hope you're picking up what we are putting down. Now, we are going to go to next. This is where how this major trade deal, remember, but we just shared with you in that link that Goldilocks put out, how trade affects foreign currency exchange rates and how the more imports from a country should reflect that their currency value should appreciate in value and go up. This is how the rates on all of our currencies will begin to move through trade. And these tariffs is just tariff deals. This is just trade deals. The value of currencies don't go up by budget tables. The value of the currency don't go up from Kurdistan deal. The value of the currency don't go up from Reno the Rhino. The value of currencies move through trade. This is Investopedia just showed you. It's the textbook how currency values go up through trade. What has Goldilocks been saying for 5 years? Watch the water, because it is through trade. Now, a lot of you are getting in the words of Lady Unique, you're getting an education right now. But this is what you need so that you get grounded and understand your investment, to know truly how your investment will come to fruition. Not by all the stuff you hear out there in guru foo-foo land. Investopedia tells you how trade values go up, how currency values go up through trade. Now, speaking of trade, what is Goldilocks sharing that we all saw and all over the news? The trade deal between the UK, the what deal? The trade deal between the UK and the US announced on May the 8th is a significant development aimed at reducing tariffs on select goods, particularly in the automotive and steel sectors. While it has sparked some immediate currency market reactions, its broader impact on global foreign currency exchange rates is nuanced and depends on various factors, including the deal's scope, market sentiment, and macroeconomic policies. See, the UK and the US trade deal is just one of the many. There are over 80, I think now over 100 countries that are now in negotiation with the United States on what? Trade negotiations. Remember how Investopedia showed us that currency values move is through trade. So when many of you have watched the markets and you saw the market's immediate impact to the UK-US trade deal, the markets, it was immediate. But that is just a flicker. That's the volatility. That's just to show you that's a sign of what's to come. When more of these trade deals are solidified, then eventually there will be more movement on the rates of these currencies. Now let's jump into the rebalancing. And I'm thinking of something else. Now my brain is moving fast. The rebalancing and rebuilding of international trade, particularly through US tariffs and global supply chain shifts, significantly affect foreign currency exchange rates. Tariffs can strengthen the imposing country's currency by reducing import demand. But recent evidence shows complex outcomes like the US dollar depreciation due to equity outflows. Emerging markets faced heightened volatility and global efforts to diversify from the dollar and further pressure. Basically, countries are moving away from the dollar, the US dollar, in their trade. Why? Because they're moving to utilize their own currencies in trade and move away from the US dollar. It's because as they move to utilize their own currencies in all of these billions and trillions of dollars of trade in their own currencies, like the Vietnamese dong and others, that raises the value of the Vietnamese dong and other currencies. The ongoing rebalancing and rebuilding of international trade driven by shifts in trade policies and tariffs and supply chain restructuring is impacting foreign currency exchange rates. These changes influence currency demand and supply through trade flows, capital movements, and investor sentiment. See, this is how, and now I'm thinking I'm going to share something with you all that just came to my head. Goldilocks shared about reforms that need to happen, basically laws that countries need to implement that are necessary in order for their currencies to begin to move. And Goldilocks shared an article, and I'm going to grab it and share it with you so that you can see what Vietnam is doing. Here it is. With Vietnam, the laws they are passing that they are actually passing these laws specifically to make sure that they're ready for the Vietnamese dong to go up in value. Now, what Vietnam also has stated is that they don't want to be left behind because they see the world is actually moving in a pace, in a way where they don't want to be left behind. There's an article that's going to drop, and I'm going to open it up, and it's going to be the first, for those that want to follow along. Did it drop into the room? Maybe I did it wrong. There it is. For those that want to follow, click this link from Vietnam. This is going to tell you what they're doing. This is going to tell you what they need to do. Now, for those that don't know, the prime minister, speaking of a market economy, the prime minister of Vietnam, when he sent his negotiation team to the United States last Wednesday, he gave them an order, his negotiation team. And what was the order? He ordered them to make sure that they negotiate with the United States for the United States to recognize Vietnam as a market economy. But Vietnam also needs to pass certain laws to allow more transparency for investors in other countries to import into Vietnam, because the laws historically in Vietnam prevented other countries and also private investors from coming into Vietnam. Now they're passing laws within the next 37 days to open Vietnam's economy. Watch this. This is the article I just dropped. Vietnam's legislators' ongoing session to mark historic breakthrough in international reform. So last Monday, think of our Congress, both House and Senate. Just think of them having 37 days of passing laws that we need. This is what Vietnam is doing. It's called the National Assembly. The National Assembly's session, which opened on last Monday morning, will make a critical step forward in institutional reform, paving the way for a new era of modernization, digital transformation, green growth, and sustainable development, said the parliament's chairman, Tran Tan Man. I know a Tan Man, but that's not the same one. In his opening remarks, Man emphasized that the laws and resolutions passed during this extraordinary session in February have played a key role in advancing the comprehensive restructuring of the political system. Folks, not only is Vietnam restructuring their political system, I've even earlier today saw an article where Vietnam said that they are having a shifting their mindset. Basically, they are totally not only reforming their laws, they're reforming how they do business with the international world. And this shows you, I'll continue. These reforms have eliminated institutional bottlenecks, meaning the red tape that most countries had trying to do business with Vietnam, those bottlenecks going away. These reforms have eliminated institutional bottlenecks and created new opportunities for development, enabling the nation and localities to unlock resources and expand growth in alignment with the party's strategic directives. And this is where it gets juicy, right here. Constitutional amendment, a strategic task. The ongoing sitting, which is from last Monday, will span 37 working days over 2 phases, making it one of the most substantial sessions in the legislature's history. Its agenda covers constitutional and legislative work, supreme oversight, and key national decisions. Regarding constitutional reform, Man said the session will consider and adopt a resolution to amend and supplement several articles of the 2013 Constitution. Folks, they are amending their Constitution to allow more countries like the United States to come into Vietnam to do business, because this is what opens them to a market economy, therefore affecting the Vietnamese dong and its value. He continued. He described the effort as a politically and legally strategic mission that aims at institutionalizing major party guidelines, particularly the reorganization of the state of Vietnam's apparatus toward lean, efficient, effective, and people-centered model. Now watch this. They're giving us dates. To implement this initiative, the Parliament will establish a drafting committee with a renewed approach to methodology and process. So this is the mindset shift where they're totally restructuring their constitution, their mindset, and how they operate, and opening the borders of Vietnam for the US and other countries to come in to their country in order to do business, which will affect the value of the Vietnamese dong. A key element will be extensive public consultation. So now they're reaching out to the public of Vietnam, to their people, to the masses, to reshape their thinking, which will serve as the foundation of revising and finalizing a draft resolution. The final version is expected to be adopted on June the 30th and take effect from July 1st. So now then we're going to talk about shortly, we're going to see the new laws during this session. The legislative body is scheduled to pass 34 draft laws and 14 draft resolutions and seek feedback on 6 other bills. This will all go into effect live on July the 1st. The timing, coincidence, Basel III, the end game for the global gold banking system, July 1st. Coincidence? I don't think so. Expected for digital asset regulations in the US to be around that time? Coincidence? I don't think so. It continues. These cover, meaning these resolutions and these laws, 34 laws, they cover crucial areas including government organization, national defense and security, judicial reform, public finance, education, science, technology, data protection, innovation, and what? Digital transformation. What is the name of the actual quantum financial system? It's the digital asset-based trading system. Vietnam is passing laws to link to the new digital asset-based trading system. Let's continue. On social, economic, and fiscal matters, the legislator will review and decide on a range of strategic issues related to development, national security, defense, security, and international integration. If Peculiar Rand was here, I would ask her to read this again, but I'm going to do it myself. On social, economic, and fiscal matters, the legislator, which is in this 37 days of laws they're passing, will review and decide on a range of strategic issues related to development, national defense, security, and international integration. So now Vietnam is going to open up its borders, open up its economy, and integrate into the international market. What does that do to the Vietnamese dong? You would imagine so. These include approval of the 2023 state budget settlement, a supplemental assessment of 2024 social economic development and budget execution, and a plan for 2025. Oh, nope, this does not have anything to do with budget tables, so don't be all hyped up about that Iraqi dinar stuff about budget tables. They got nothing to do with this. This is totally different. So bottom line, this is very powerful because I'm going to read this next one too. Man stated that the National Assembly plans to allocate at least 3% of the 2025 state budget to science, technology, innovation, and digital transformation, with the goal of achieving 8% GDP growth in 2025 and double-digit expansion in the following years. Vietnam, ladies and gentlemen, has successfully over the past 20 plus years achieved 7% annual GDP growth. But a country's gross domestic product is impacted by their currency. So with all this growth that Vietnam has had, with all this trade surplus that they've had for the last 20 plus years, to now be recognized as the number one fastest growing economy, but yet still the Vietnamese dong is poo-poo. The rate, the value is poo-poo. But they're passing laws now to open Vietnam, to integrate, their words, not mine, international integration. This is why the Prime Minister of Vietnam ordered his negotiation team to propose to President Trump to recognize Vietnam as a market economy. See, he knows that in order for the United States to recognize Vietnam as a market economy, to open them up, which will grow the Vietnamese dong in value, they have to pass laws that Trump is definitely going to want to see. This is a part of the negotiations. These laws that they pass, this is a part of what they have to bring to the table, is to show that they've changed their laws. They've changed their way of doing business. They've changed their mindset, and that they are opening Vietnam to other countries around the world and integrating. See, this is why Vietnam doesn't want to be left behind. They know, especially after July 1st, with Basel III, because all banks around the world, central banks in particular as well, Vietnam is Basel III compliant, but they haven't passed the laws until now in order to integrate in the new digital banking system for digital transformation. No coincidence at all that they're doing this now. Yes, they have to pass these laws in order for the United States to recognize them. There's other things they have to do, but this is just one of them. And these negotiations with the United States and Vietnam will be ongoing for the next several weeks and months to come. But these laws go into effect in Vietnam on July 1st. So the United Kingdom, the United States announced their trade deal. It was huge. We saw currency exchange rates are affected by what? Trade. Vietnam and the US currently negotiating what? Trade deals. What will it do? Affect the currency values. And this US UK trade deal that was announced on Wednesday, it will have a ripple effect, because in a domino effect, because now these other countries, they know they're going to have to do the same thing. Vietnam was one of the first countries that immediately called President Trump and asked to come to the table to negotiate when he announced these tariffs, because they don't want to be left behind. They have to make this shift or they will be left behind. Now, if they choose to be left behind, it doesn't matter, because the tariffs that Trump will impose on them, either way, it's going to affect the value of the Vietnamese dong in our favor anyway. So would they rather do what they need to do in order to come to a market economy and allow the Vietnamese dong to move in the market without their control at the Central Bank of Vietnam? They have to. In order for them to get what they want from the United States, they're going to have to. All right. Peculiar Ram, if you can unmute. She just can't. I just see you.
Hello.
We got your mom in prayers, beloved.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys.
Yes.
Just getting in
Yeah.
and getting settled, so I was able to catch the last few minutes.
Okay.
She's doing well, though. She's doing well. She's resting. I
Okay.
have her in the room, so she's staying the night with me tonight. So she's knocked out.
Beautiful. You're right on time. What I would like for
Yeah,
you to do, if you can read this last part that I just posted into the room, and then we're going to get on out of here because we're out of time. The digital infrastructure.
sure. The digital infrastructure mechanisms for stablecoin use are currently being interfaced onto the new digital asset-based trading system. Look for stablecoin regulations to pass through Congress any minute so we can utilize them in foreign currency exchange.
The timing of this, folks. We know that stable coins are going to back each country's currency to provide its stability and its new value and its new rate. We know that it's necessary. We know that, excuse me, Ripple now is about to be let go. I'm sorry, I had to drink some water. And so, and XRP will be utilized in order for us to exchange our currency from our home currency, from our foreign currency into our home currency. It's going to be XRP. Stable coins are going to back them. So just think of the timing of this all. Think there's a coincidence? No coincidence at all. Thank you so much, because Ram, you came right on time. Right
You're
on time.
welcome.
Thank you so much. Lotus and Pistol Mom, if you're still here, if you could unmute, we and what I don't know if Wiley's still here. Pistol Mom and Lotus, if you could unmute.
I can't wait to hear the replay on Monday. I missed all the
Yes,
testimonials.
yes. Lotus,
Right.
anything you want to add? Anything did you pick up what we put down tonight, young lady? Lotus, are you on the water now?
Lotus
Okay,
Flower Bomb. Where are
right,
you?
Caught
I
a
can't hear.
misunderstanding. Uh-oh.
There you go. There
Hold
you
on a
go.
second.
There
Can
we
you hear me
go.
now?
Yeah, we can hear
Okay.
you now.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm driving. But
Okay.
clarifying market economies once again, and I know you said it, but it just really helps drive it home to understand the why part and to see the sequence of events and to help us understand what has to happen, which is all these things are part of the process to
Hmm.
RV. And it's just
Yes.
really exciting to hear that. And as a, understanding admiralty law, the laws of the water
Mm,
versus the laws on the
hmm.
land,
Hmm.
which is
Right.
a big deal for me because I like being on the water. So just to get this part of it is just it's phenomenal. So thank you
Beautiful.
again. And
You're
I
welcome.
just say to everybody, be transparent, be authentic, and let people see who you are and understand who you are to get those goals out there. And because they really do want to help us achieve our goals.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. That's a perfect send off. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Pistol Mom, Wiley. Peculiar Ram, thank you for coming on. I can't believe that you even came on after taking care of your mom. She went to the emergency room. But everyone, have a good night. Mothers, happy Mother's Day. We love you all. Without you, mothers, there will be none of us.
That's
We can't
right.
live without you. Thank you all so much. Everyone, have a good night. Be well. Bye-bye. Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter. Thank you for tuning into our channel, Goldilocks Global Banking News. Everybody knows that Goldilocks is the #1 source for the RVGCR. People from around the world tune in to see what Goldilocks is sharing on the RVGCR. Don't miss your chance to get your latest updates every day. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel to get your daily podcast from the Goldilocks articles on the RVGCR. Brought to you by Freedom Fighter.